Easy Sports Talk Show. I am Easy Sports Talk Show with Javon Adams and Ed Smith, or better yet, Ed Smith and Javon Adams. I am one of your co-hosts. I'm Javon J. Love Adams, and with me is a man who not only played professional baseball, but he also played in the National Football League for the Atlanta Falcons, for that first Super Bowl bound team for the Atlanta Falcons, and he is also an accomplished author and a motivational speaker. He is my brother, Ed Smith. What is good, my brother?
Oh, happy day, bro. You know what happened last night. Tar Heels dropped it like it was hot on them phony Duke boys. 93-84. So it was a good day in the household, bro.
I did see that after I got out of church today. I was thinking, man, I wonder who won, because I didn't pay attention to the score last night, and so I did see that they won. I was so happy because we do this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and so make sure you tell a friend about what we do. But we also have a terrestrial radio show that we do every Saturday from 1 to 3 Eastern time on SportsMap Radio. So go to sportsmapradio.com. You can either press play in the upper right corner or download the app for your Android or mobile device. But the reason I'm mentioning that is because our producer for the show, he reps that Houston, and they ended up losing last night. Losing yesterday.
Yeah, they took it on the chin. I texted them a couple times during the game because I told them Kansas, man, they were scaring me. They look good. They beat up on Houston yesterday. So, we got a lot of stiff competition out there. And I said Kansas definitely look good.
Okay, so let's get it. So I want to bring this up because we talked about it on the show on Saturday. It was one of our topics in one of our segments, and so I wanted to just bring this back out and maybe flesh it out a little bit. And maybe there's one other thing I want to talk about. But this is Super Bowl week, so we gonna get into Super Bowl. Don't worry about it. So Wednesday we won't, because that's a traveling day. But Friday we'll get back to it for sure and share some stories of tales of the Super Bowl with Ed. Where he was in the Super Bowl with the Atlanta Falcons, and so unplanned things that took place. But you mentioned this. You brought up a story about college sports in terms of coaching. So reset that, and then I want to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so there was a coach, and I'm trying to pull it up right now. Bear with me for just a second. Boston College head coach, and it's popping up for me here right now. His name, some of the information. Give me just a second. So there we go. So Boston College head coach, and his name is Jeff Hafley. Mm-hmm. He's actually leaving his head coaching job at Boston College to take a defensive coordinator job back in the NFL. Now, he had coached in the NFL before. He was a DB coach with Tampa, Cleveland, and San Francisco. But back in 2019, he got the head coaching job at Boston College, and this is the head coach. And I would consider Boston College a major university. I mean, they're not winning national titles or anything like that, but it's not a Division II school. They're in the ACC. Boston College has a proud history, Doug Flutie, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this man out of nowhere decided, look, I'd rather go back and coach at the highest level, yes, but I'm going to take a position, a defensive coordinator position, over being the head man at a university that has to deal with all these burgeoning problems of what college football has become. It's become the transfer portal. It's become NIL. It's become, all these different things and headaches, trying to recruit your own players, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, instead of staying here, being the head guy, I'd rather go back to pro ball, be a DC, where that's all I have to worry about. And that's kind of telling. It really is.
Yeah. And so we talked about, I think that it's one of those things where it might be the tip of the iceberg in a lot of different ways, because there was speculation when Nick Saban decided to step away from Alabama that he even said it himself, hey, I don't have the same energy that I had, just a few years ago. And when I'm bringing these kids when I'm going into these kids' homes to be able to try to talk to their parents, and they're asking me, are you going to be there to nurture and help my son grow? Are you going to be there? And before he could say yes unequivocally, but now he really can't say, but he got to the point where, no, I can't really say that. And if I'm not being able to say that, then that doesn't serve the the child well, and I'm not living up to my promise. But because of the NIL, because of the really, and I think we touched on this on last week's show, is that because of the transfer portal, that makes it so difficult for these coaches. I don't care. People can say, well, you make 10 million. And I heard this when I was riding around earlier today on I think it was on Sirius XM. But just because you're making $10 million a year or 5 million or 780,000 doesn't mean that's what you necessarily signed up for, if that makes sense, because now you're worried about if I don't give this kid, if this kid only gets, whether it's college basketball or college football, whatever it is, if this kid only gets 10 snaps a game when he was expecting 15, now he's going to jump in the transfer portal to go somewhere else. Or if he's not, and it's all that ends up being a part of this thing that I think and I mentioned, I think on Saturday, it's a law of unintended consequences.
Well, what has become, Jay, think about this for the college coaches. And one part of the thing with Saban, I know his name brand carries a lot of weight. But even now with like a Nick Saban, you go from, okay, you had the one signing period, you finish the season, you go out, you hit the recruiting cycle, and you get these kids for next year, and you usually be done with it. You got some time off in the summer, spring games, stuff like that. You get ready for the coming season. Now it's finished the season. Now you got to recruit your own players again, because every school is trying to pull your players to their university, and the transfer portal has made it so easy for these kids to jump from one school to the next. So now you're not only recruiting for the future, you're recruiting for the present, trying to keep the kids that you got there. Then you got the NIL, where everybody's out there, especially some of the bigger schools, throwing all that money at the kids. Hey, come to our school. We got this set up for you, that set up for you. So now you're battling against that. And then even on the recruiting trail, for the kids coming out of high school, they're using the NIL as a recruiting tool and not necessarily for what it was supposed to be for. For once a kid got to school, you've made a name for yourself. Now go use your name, your image, and your likeness to sign with a car dealership, to sign with the local KFC or whatever it is. Now it's a recruiting tool that as a head coach, you're also battling against. So college coaching has now become a 12-month-a-year thing. And these coaches look at what it's done to our basketball coaching list just in the matter of the last few years with, Krzyzewski stepping down, Roy Williams stepping down, my man at UConn stepped down, Syracuse. You run down the list of coaches that were looking, and it's like, you know what? Do I really want to deal with this now? And the other thing, Jay, and I'll say this, the power has shifted.
Yes.
The coaches for all these years have had the power. You get your scholarship, you should be happy with that. Now these kids are looking at the head coach, what you gonna do for me? And and if you don't play me, well, I'm just gonna go somewhere else. So now it's like, the shift is coaches could call a student into his office, quote unquote student athlete into his office, and have a sit down talk with him. Now the student athletes, or the athletes, we should just say, are calling the meeting. Coach, I need to talk to you. You need to explain some stuff to me. And the whole shift is, we're going to see more of this where coaches are just like, you know what? I just can't do this. We saw in the same breath we were talking the other day, there was the Utah coach.
And
his name, Winningham. He actually went to his board and everybody, boosters and all, and told them in an article that Utah, which is not, once again, it's not SEC school, it's not Georgia, it's not, but this is a school that every year has a team somewhere in the top 25, years where they're in the top 10. Yeah. He told everybody that in order for us to be successful, to put a winning team on the field, we need approximately $7 million per year to satisfy the NIL. And it's not negotiable, he said. He said, if we don't get that money for these athletes that are demanding it now, we're going to see more and more of them go. We're going to see more and more of them choosing not to come here. So in order for us to put a winning team together, we got to go into the kitty, whether it's through the boosters or athletic pro, whatever we got to do. We got to come up with an additional $7 million just to make it work. And to me, I mean, that's just another sign of the times where it's like, who's holding the belt right now? and who has all the power? These kids, and it's man, you're putting all this power in the hands of some of these kids that, one, they're being misguided by people in family or greedy agents or this or whatever.
True. Very true.
And a lot of bad decisions are being made out there. It should still be a little bit about the education. These kids don't give a doggone about education right now. It's all about what can you do for me now, because I want money in my pocket. It's so out of whack right now, and we're seeing just the start of it. Where if we were able to fast forward about 4 or 5 years, Jay, it's going to be unbelievable. They better get this under control, because the game, the college, all the sports at the college level are being just destroyed right now. And if they don't get it under control, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse.
I agree. He's Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams, and this is the Easy Sports Talk Show with Ed Smith and Javon Adams. So I definitely agree. When you mention Utah, because Utah is they're let's say in the middle, above the middle. Let's just say. So they're a known institution. So if you think about this, let's say if they're getting those good recruits and they're paying that $7 million, and they have 2 or 3 or 4 good years in a row, then those players that are on the team are going to say, well, we exceeded expectations, so give me some more money. Or the players that you're trying to recruit say, well, I know how good you are, so you should be able to pay this. And it becomes that thing where they opened up a Pandora's box, because they just opened it up and said, just whatever, let chaos reign. And chaos is starting to reign because, and I mentioned this on our show, is that even the lower level schools, and I'll say, it's true. I'm not, San Jose State, if you have a wide receiver or a quarterback or a lineman or whatever position that is, that gets recruited, that's a 2-star player that ends up having a great year, that somebody, maybe a Utah wants, or the next step up wants them to come to that school, they're going to pay that. And then you have that movement that happens. It's similar to free agency in the NFL or in the NBA when that happens, because that's one of the things that I think where college basketball, I think, is losing for sure, is because there's not that name recognition or that association with a specific organization. And that's why maybe there should be some parameters, a governor put on how often you're allowed to move. Maybe it's every 2 years, so maybe that's just a once. And the exception is if your coach ends up getting fired or ends up taking another job, then that can be the exception to the rule, and where you can see that movement, as opposed to every year. Because I think it's just unrealistic to every year you got to keep recruiting. You got to keep recruiting little Johnny or little Rashad, whatever it is, to try to stay with your squad. And that's just crazy. And maybe they change it to where the scholarship itself is maybe it's a 2-year guarantee, as opposed to keep treating it like a 1 year, because for those who don't know, for the most part, scholarships that kids get, they are 1 year, they're for 1 year agreements. You're not guaranteed 4 years there. That's why you'll see insert running back here that was there on the squad, and then next thing you know, he's not there anymore, because they just said, no, we got another better running back that's coming in, and so your services are no longer needed.
Yeah, I don't know what the fix is, and maybe COVID did something to mess this up as well, because we're seeing some of these kids, man, with like these 5-6 years of eligibility and stuff like that. And quite frankly, Jay, if you're not say you're a football player, you're not NFL material, why wouldn't you hang around college as long as you can and get some of that extra NIL that you're not eventually going to get once you leave college? And we're seeing some of these kids just hang around, and what they're doing, they're transferring from one school to the next. This is such and such a 6th year and it's 4th team. Somehow they figured out how to do this. They got a grad year or something like that. You put that in, and finally they do a transfer or whatever. And it's just, what we need to do, Jay, after all this time, let's stop pretending. Let's remove the student from in front of the athlete and pretend like some of these kids playing sports are not hired hands. They should have W-2s. They should regulate this money somehow. And also, these kids coming out of high school should not be allowed to make money. They shouldn't you be able to use that as a recruiting tool. Once you get there and you've served your time for a year or two, then we can now offer you NIL money. But you can't have these kids coming in from high school with making more money than some of the coaches on the staff. I mean, $1 million deals and stuff like that. And it's like, it just, there's an imbalance. And we've always thought for years that students should have to be paid in some form or fashion. The other thing is the NCAA itself, they are a bunch of punks, man, because they're the ones who put this off on, hey, there's a way that they can get paid and we don't have to do it or make up regulation and rules. Hey, sure. Hey, we're going to make an announcement. Hey, from this point forward, you can go out and get your own deals, NIL. Hey, good luck with that. And wash their hands of it, putting no stipulations, no regulations, no nothing in place. And like you said, it's just become the wild, wild west of, I mean, Sodom and Gomorrah, bro. It's just ridiculous what's going on out there. And once the genie's out of the bottle, what are you going to do? They have, and now the NCAA is just back in the corner trying to hope nobody looks in their direction. But meanwhile, all this madness is going on. It's crazy. And who's paying for it? The kids are paying for it to a certain degree because they're not getting the full experience, and some of them are being led to some of these places under false pretenses. Then I do feel for the coaches themselves a little bit, not a whole bunch, because for years they were cracking the whip. They held all the power. Now they're getting a taste of their own medicine. But how would you like to deal with that? Like I said, these kids now trying to tell you what they are and aren't going to do and what you need to do for them. At some point, Jay, we have to realize there still has to be some type of hierarchy.
Yes, sir.
Where, even in our households and our family, no matter how old I get or got, I'm never going to disrespect my parents because they're my parents. Same thing for the coaches and stuff at these institutions. It's got to be some level of respect for them that these kids still honor. These kids don't honor jack right now. All they honor is how much money you can get from me. And if you can't, along with my playing time, I'm moving on. And it's just bad, man.
This is true. So, so we'll keep it on that. Maybe we'll revisit that sometime soon. But before we leave, again, we do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday. This Wednesday is a travel day because Ed, I can't go this time, but Ed is going to Radio Row. He's going there. He's going to be shaking hands and kissing babies and always betting on black and all that stuff. And so we'll get reports from him when he comes back when we do the Friday show. But leave me with this, man. Because the player on my team is the most passive-aggressive dude in the world. My team is the Lakers, and LeBron has been on the team, but gosh, it's crazy. It's been 6 seasons since he's been on the Lakers. We got 1 championship. Can we get 2? We not going to get 2.
Bubble.
Because bubble. Hey, I don't care what nobody says. If it was a bubble, if it was a hexagon, if it was an oval, I don't care what nobody says. It's a championship. But it was because somebody asked him a couple days ago whether if he was going to automatically renew or re-sign with, because he has a player option at the end of the season to re-sign with the Lakers. And he said he doesn't. Has he made up his mind? And he said no. Of course, that's the most LeBron thing in the world because there's no need to renegotiate because it's just you'll get $51 million if you just say, yeah, let me opt in. But is it time to trade LeBron? And I'll say yes. The reason why I say this is because the best GMs, and I heard an argument on this and I subscribe to this, the best GMs will make the decision about when to cut bait with the player before they lose all their value, right? It doesn't matter and I'm not using the Bill Belichick super extreme where he cuts them 2 or 3 years before they come up for renewal or something. But there's the example that I heard that was used, and I think it's valuable here. I remember when I became a Lakers fan, they had Magic Johnson, Norm Nixon, they had Jamal Wilkes and some other player, and of course Kareem was on the team, etc. And so they traded Norm Nixon the following year, and they got Byron Scott because that way it allowed Magic to really be the point guard and do what he needed to do. So that was an unpopular opinion, and I was kind of mad because I like Norm Nixon. Norm Nixon was cool. Norm Nixon was a cool dude, but they had to do that because they were looking not for right now, but looking in for the midterm and the long term, right? And so they ended up winning, more championships as a result. But what do you say? Do you think that the Lakers should trade LeBron? If do you think that that's something that they should entertain? I don't think it'll happen, but I just wanted your thoughts.
Yeah, I don't know if it would ever happen either. At this point, Jay, I asked the question. We all get older, right? And we
Yep.
all, at some point, had our prime. The fans that are walking around that thinking LeBron James is still 25 or 32 or 33-year-old LeBron. I mean, you got to take your head out of the clouds. And
Yeah.
at some point, you know, he is not the same player he used to be. Now he can still get it in occasionally from night to night, but he's not going to be. He's not, in my opinion, the LeBron that could carry the load through the 82 and then all the way through the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. And at some point, you know, the Lakers even themselves have to stop living in fantasy land like he and AD. Hey, we're going to, all we need is to put the right pieces around them. And they're a 500 club right now, Jay.
Yeah.
And that's with all the retooling they did last year during the offseason. Austin Reeves and Hoochie Mama and all that. It's like, all we got to do is these dudes are, and it's like, wait a minute. Okay, so you did everything you thought you was going to do, and that team's going to compete with some of these younger, you know, teams out there that are on the upcoming. And, you know, so with that being said, anybody can be traded. I don't care who it is. Yeah. And if the Lakers were smart, if they're thinking this is a championship season, they're fooling themselves. Sir. You as a fan, sir. You know this isn't a championship season.
No, sir.
There's no way they're going to finish this out and then have to go. The problem is, Jay, the 82. If they could start and just play the in the playoffs without the first 82.
We won the in-season tournament.
And where you been since then, right? Okay, so that's the banner you're going to raise this year, and that's the only banner you're going to raise.
That's the only one. That's the only one.
The Lakers, where are your priorities? Is it because at some point they're going to make a decision? LeBron is no longer our future; he's our present now. But you either continue on with the same thing. He's going to be a year older next year. You're going to be paying him $51 million to be a 500 team. And then
say it again though, $51 million.
51 million. I'll be honest with you, bro. If I'm them, I'm sick. LeBron, yeah, you probably should go explore your options. When is that date? That sign date? Yeah, man. I bet you get a whole lot more than that on the market, man. You might want to. I'll be encouraging him, so I didn't have to pay that man 51 million. Although he is great. I mean, like I said, greatness is on a 82 game basis is no longer there. So if you're willing to pay that, that's on you. But personally, I'd be willing to start rebuilding. And that's the problem with being a Lakers fan. They do not like the word rebuild.
Oh, no, we don't. No, we don't.
They don't. They always, and that's why they will sacrifice draft picks and this and that in order to be near the top by utilizing these older players or trying to go buy the superstar from somebody else in their prime. Shaq. They tried it with Dwight Howard. Different things like that. They're not in the business of drafting and starting from scratch. But at this point, LeBron is like that piece of chalk was down to the nub. I mean, you literally, you write, your fingers are touching the chalkboard when you're writing with this piece of chalk. That's how far down to the nub it is. As far as the 82, I said, if you were able to get him healthy like they did in the bubble season where they didn't play all, I know I'm serious.
Yeah.
Remember, they took months off. And then they came back and finished up in the bubble and played the championship in the bubble. LeBron and AD was as rested as you ever going to get in your life. In your life.
True.
And like I said, but having to play the 82 and then playing the playoffs, nah, that LeBron is done. I mean, so, you and I have our motto, yes, you can. And yes, they can. Will they? Probably not, but yes, they can.
Won't. Yeah, because you have to figure out, are you trying to look for merch sales? Or are you trying to go for championships? Because you can get merch sales with LeBron, the king of this and the highest play. Every point he scores, he becomes the highest, the highest scoring player, but in NBA history every point, right? But do you want championships or do you want merch sales? Because if you want championships, the merch sales could come along the way. So we'll see. Yeah. So again, we do this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. He is Ed Smith. I'm Javon Adams. It is the Easy Sports Talk Show with Ed Smith and Javon Adams. We also do Believe in the Arizona Cardinals. And so we probably won't do it this week because, again, it's a travel week. So we'll get back at it next week. But you can get that on easysportstalk.com, easysportstalk.com. And I mentioned earlier that we have the terrestrial radio show, Easy Sports Talk Show, 1 to 3 Eastern every Saturday on SportsMap Radio in over 98 markets across the country. And so if you're interested in, if you're not in one of those 98 markets, then you can go to sportsmapradio.com in the upper right corner, click on the play icon, or you can download the app for your Android or mobile device. And of course, again, we do this Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but travel safe, my brother Ed, and come back with lots of tales of, I guess.
Well, the biggest thing I'm trying to do is come back with all my money.
Yeah.
So maybe a little bit of theirs if I can, and safe and sound. That's the biggest thing. But yeah,
don't forget to stop by the Tropicana.
I'm gonna take a picture of Chop. I'm gonna go to Allegiance as well, to the football stadium, take a picture of that too.
Yes, sir. And so, as we always like to say around this time, you can